This is Asim here. Hope everybody is okay. So first of all, I would like to welcome you all back to this channel. So today we are diving into question 4. I know that most of you have asked me to create a video on this question so you can follow the steps to complete this question. And I know that some of you have already started working on the question 4, so probably this video is going to reassure you and to align your steps, what I'm going to show you in next couple of minutes. So what we're going to do is we will break it down step by step, ensuring that everyone can follow along, whether you already have started working on this question or probably you're just still waiting that we will have this video and then you're going to start working on that too. So let's get started and see how we can tackle this question together. One thing you need to remember that I have changed this data enormously, so I just wanted to make sure that this is not reflecting on what your actual assignment is. So my answer on in this video are probably going to be different one to what you create in your using your data set, but the steps more or less are going to be remaining the same ones with minor changes. I have noticed that some students have discussed that some steps we have taken in the previous videos and they found different ways of actually getting to the same answer. So guys, please note, you just need to be aware of that there are different ways in Excel to do the similar things. So I can, in this short period of time, I may not be able to do all these steps and using different methods to get to the same answer. But I have used one or a few of those ones in here just to help you to make it understandable that how we're going to do question 4, 5, 6, 7, and all that. But today in this particular video, we will be focusing on just on question 4. So before we start onto that one, we just wanted to make sure that the data is organized and it looks good because the presentation is very important when we get into the data handling. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press Control A. So we got the whole data highlighted. I click onto this borders and I get into all border, and then in the first row I'm just going to press bold just to look the data organized and reasonable. Then we have this return. Similarly, I'm going to do in here. I can actually highlight this data because these are two columns. So similarly, I can actually do this for these two columns here as well. And rest you can do it for staff, and then you can do the shipping cost as well. So I leave it with you guys to actually do that by yourself. So before we go into the question number 4 and I start explaining this, before that I wanted to refresh some knowledge about certain formulas which you already have used in the past, and for that I am creating a new worksheet for you guys. So for instance, what we're going to look into it is we will be talking about count if, right? I'm sure that you have used this formula, and we are going to discuss the formula called index. Sorry, we're going to talk about max, and then we have a formula called index. I'm sure that you have not used this formula before. So in this video, I'll show you how we can use this index because this formula is probably going to be used to get to the final answer of your question 4. But in index 4, there are different variations of this formula. There are different ways to do it, and there are different parameters which we can use in different certain situations. So I will try to explain as much as I can, but obviously in this short period of time, I may not be able to explain all single variations of the index formula. So these 3 things which we're going to do today, and before we get on to the actual data sets, which I have amended and updated just to keep the anonymity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that one, just keep that in mind, and I'm just going to start explaining to you about the count ifs and all that. Right. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create, for instance, we have the list of fruits. So we have apple, we have grapes, and we have pear. Then we have apple again, and then we have, for instance, pear. So we have these fruits available. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight all this. and put that into this, and then the first one is going to be wall. I'm sure that these steps are very, very easy for you to take on. It's not difficult at all. So first of all, I'm going to use a formula called count if. So I'm just typing in here. Remember, any formula in Excel needed to be started with equal sign. So similarly, I'm just writing equal, and then I'm just writing count if and bracket start, and the first parameter you can see on the screen is range, and the second parameter is the criteria. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight from A2 to A7 and what I want to count. Okay, counting if here means is that we have provided the range, and in this range what I'm going to count. What I want is I want apple to be counted. But remember, when I pressed enter here, answer is most likely going to be 0. Let's see if it's a case. So I press enter. So I was right. The answer is 0. Well, actually, in the data set, we can see that we have 3 apples in here. Why is the case? Remember, I have explained that in the previous videos as well, that when you get to when you do the word searching, it needs to be in the parentheses, double quotation marks. So once you press enter, and then you can see that we have figured out how the count if can be used in here. So in this a formula, we can easily switch that to, for instance, if you want to find out grapes, you can find out this one. And if you want to find out pear, then it's 2. So you can easily find out these options in there. So alongside that, something came up in my mind, which is probably can help you in completing your question 4 as well. So what I'm going to do is, just to make it easy, I'm going to repeat this, copy and paste. So I have extended this column just by copying and pasting. So you can actually have your own fruits names in here, so you can create your own data set. But just because of the time and easiness, what I have done is I'm just created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy again, and I'm just going to paste it again as well. So here you go. So we have a data on different fruits, which is around 24 different rows, because the first one is the metadata, so that has not been counted. Right. So what I'm going to do here is, just for your understanding purposes, I'm copying this whole column, and for instance, I put down in here, and if you see that I have got a similar data set, I've just copied and pasted. You click on fruits, and then probably you go into the data on the top, you click on data, then probably you need to find out there is an option. If you look at this one, remove duplicates. So you see that grapes, apples, and pear, everything has been repeated a number of times. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the duplicates here. It asks me remove duplicates, yes or no, and I press OK. So you can see that it has easily removed the duplicates of all this data set. Okay, why we need it, I'll show you when we do the question 4. But remember, this is one of the nicest features. So you have a long data set, you copy and paste, and then you highlight it, and then you get into data and find an option which is called remove duplicate. So it will remove all the duplicates for you guys. So leave this data there, and I just highlight it just for, because we might use it later. So I'm just keeping it in the yellow. Brilliant. Okay, so now, so you have learned about the count if, and now we're going to talk about something more as well, which is, for instance, I have got a different data set now, and this data set is probably name and age, and then you have a gender. So you have these options in there. So in name, you have, for instance, Asim, Ali, Sophie, and my age is, for instance, 48. Ali is 35, and Sophie is, let's say, 20. And gender is male, male, and female. Okay, this is your data set, and I'm just going to play with this one again just to make it look good. And then it's organized as well. So here we go. Right. So this is your data set here. Brilliant. So now what I'm going to do is, guys, this is very, very interesting. This is what you need to listen carefully that what I'm going to explain in here. In this data set, I am going to use called at index. Index is being used in here. So for instance, looking at this one, I'm just increasing the size just to make you aware so you don't miss that. If you look at this, this is your column C. So I consider this as a column 1, and this is your column 2, this is your column 3. So here, forget about D and E at the minute. We come back into column C, which we consider that this is column 1. What I want to find is that I would like to find out what is on location C3. If you look at that one, C3, when you click on any cell, it tells you this is the number. C3. But if I use the formula index, index helps me to go to a particular location and extract whatever is in there. For instance, currently we're going to talk about this. I'm just highlighting it so you don't miss that. I'm highlighting it in the this color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the word equal index. So when you talk about index, you see the first parameter is the range, so array. So I'm just going to put the array in here. I have highlighted it, and I want to find out what is on location, for instance, A2, A3, and A4. There is a little catch in here, which I will tell you in a minute. I don't want to explain that right now, but let's see. So looking at this, ASIM should be on 8 on C2, right? So you can see this is 2 row and under column C. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write that from C2 to C4, I would like to find out, for instance, C2, the location. Here we go. And oh, this is the value in here because this is what we haven't used there. So I am going to use this called ASIM. And again, this is what I need to write this one in this way. This is the value coming up in here. So what it is happening right now is that we wanted to find out what is on that particular location. So the location here is, for instance, if I go into, right, C2, okay, right. Right. There is, I'm just checking this one now. There we go. Right. So we get back into this one now. So it's the row number C2 to C4. That's the array. And then row number is 2. So I'm just going to press in here. Remember, guys, as I mentioned, that index, first thing we need to do is to highlight the data itself, and then what row you're going to find out. You press 2 and you press enter, and on number 2 you find Ali. But remember, what was the catch in here? The catch in here is that looking at this is your row 2 and that is your ASIM. So in fact, when we press 2, it should be ASIM appeared. But in fact, this is coming up early. So remember, when we use index use the live location. For instance, ASIM is considered on 1 row and Ali is considered row 2 and Sophie is considered in row 3. So for instance, if I just go back into, for instance, 3, so that is going to be Sophie. Here we go. So this is something how index formula works in here. So please keep that in mind when you work onto that one. And I know that you're going to use index formula in your question 4, and this is what you need to remember. Once again, this is what it is, that when you use the index formula is equal index, and then you bracket start and you give your data set. This is my data set. I want to find out, what do you want to find out? What is on location, on row 2, sorry, not location, is the row 2. So remember, ASIM at this moment is on row number 1. So when the day, from wherever the data starts, that is considered as number 1. So number 2 is Ali and number 3 is Sophie. So you close the bracket and you press enter and you find your answer. Fantastic. This is the first thing which I just wanted to explain you that. Right. Now, coming back on to the other one, which is now we're going to play with the whole data set. So first is the name, then we have age, We come back onto, we give a different color to this one, and then gender, we give a different color to this one as well. Right, so now we're going to play with the whole data set. So again, we use index. But before we use index, I just wanted to ask you, and also inform you as well, that when we were playing with index earlier, we were talking about one column only, one column and a particular row as well. In this instance, if we want to find out that what is on location this, what is on location that, so we want to find out whether we have the whatever the name is. For instance, in this case, we have name Asim, and his age is 48. So could you please find out what's the gender for this person? So similarly, when we play with the whole big table, we have we use the same index formula, but we have different parameters. Remember, now the search is broader. Initially, we were only talking about one column, and now we're talking about the whole table. So what I'm going to do here now is that we write equal, we write index, and then we type index as well. Then you see that we have the whole data set. So for instance, I'm just going to highlight all the data set. Okay. And okay, so first of all, remember we miss name, age, and gender means whatever is the metadata, we are not going to highlight it. We only highlight starting from the data itself, which is in this case is Asim, and we go till F. Okay. Now we have two parameters to give in here. One is the row and one is the column. So for instance, I want to find out my row 2 is, you know that row 2 is Ali, right? And on Ali, the column, sorry, yeah, this is the row and the column. I want to find out column number 3. So can you guess what are we going to find out of this when we press enter? Remember, this first number 2 is representing the row number, and number 3 is representing the third column of this data set. So when you press, you close the parenthesis, you press enter, I would have thought that because number 2 is Ali, so Ali and number column 3, which is E, so when you cross match that, it is going to be M. So let's see what comes. Fantastic. So it has come as an F. So what it is, if you look at this one, you have 2 and 3. 2 means you have, sorry, you have row number 2. And remember in my previous few minutes ago when I explained that index takes 2 as 1 and 3 as 2. So it is always one number behind. So when you talk about number 2 as a row and column number as this one, so what happened was that this was actually the center point of both of these um, values. So if you look at that one, this is your row 2. I'm just highlighting it for your better understanding. And this is your row 3. And this is your matching point. So in fact, when you have row 2 and column 3, so this is your cross point, and this cross point is going to be your so I highlight this one as yellow again, just to make you aware that this the answer we have been looking for. So remember, we use index and we use index at the same time for a broader location. I hope that makes sense to you guys now. Okay. And similarly, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to get back into the actual file. But until then, if you got any questions you want to discuss with me, please feel free, and I'm more than happy to go through these ones with you during the seminar sessions. But this is very important that you understand the index and things in here as well. Okay, so we get back into the orders now. Here we go. This is the file we have. And as I mentioned earlier, that I have made so many changes into this data, so my answers are going to be different to you. So you need to be very careful when you do this one. So looking at this data, because your question 4 is more about the delivery service and which delivery services have been used more than the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this. I'm just going to highlight it just to be making it outstanding, so we know that this is the column we are going to play with. So in this one, you can clearly see that similar things have been repeating, like second class, standard class, and then probably you can go into the first class. And there would be others ones as well, which I don't know how many they are. So you get back into this one, and then what we're going to do is we are going to have this. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to utilize probably the same sheet. Um, Same worksheet is fine. And I'm just highlighting this one in here, just paste there. Uh, Guys, you can have a new worksheet. It's absolutely fine. I have preferred to use the same worksheet, so I'm just going to use the same one. Right, so you highlight this one, and if you remember that we have used a formula, it was remove duplicates as well. So you click onto this one, you go back into your data, and then there is an option you find is called remove duplicates. You click onto this one, press OK, and then here we go. So we found that second class, standard class, first class, and the same day have been used in here. Amazing. Okay, so coming back into this one again, if you look at this, I just wanted to check the starting and ending of this data set. So the starting of this data set is E2, if you look at that one at the corner. So this cell reference number is E2, and then we come back at the end. This is your E9995. So I'm just going to wanted to make a note of that. So this is E2 to E9995. Okay, go back. Let's get back in here, and let me just get back in there. Okay, so here we go. Fantastic. So here, delivery service, and let's say I can write in here that use of services. You can have your own titles of your column. So I just want to see that how many times second class delivery service have been used, how many times standard class have been used, how many times first class been used, and similarly, how many times same delivery have been used. So again, if you remember just earlier, I explained you the count if formula. So similar thing we're going to use in here. So I'm just going to write equal, and I'm going to write count if. And here we go. We need to give the range. So range we already have noted down is E2 to E9995. There we go. Okay. And then we have a comma. And then what do we want to find out? From this data set, starting from E2 to E9995, we want to count how many times second class have been used. So in this one, we have second class here, which is in Z2. So I click onto that one. You can easily type that one too. So you bracket close, and then you press enter, and then you can see that 1945. So 1945 times this has been used. Okay, fantastic. Amazing. Now we're going to see a bit of a change in here. So now we drag and drop. If you remember, we have used this small button on the right bottom that you drag and drop, and all these values have been updated for second class, standard class, first class, and same day. Brilliant. So here, what we're going to do now, we just click onto this one, and we see that the values have been changed from E3 to E996. But in fact, this is the wrong representation of the data set, because the data set starts from E2 and go up to E9995. So we have two ways to play in here. The first way is we can actually make the changes manually. For instance, we can just say E2, and then we can go on to E995. This is one way of doing it. Or other one is that if you remember in question 1, 2, 3, we have been talking about the absolute values. So we can actually get into the absolute values, and how we're going to get that one, we can highlight the first value which we have used, and then we can have an effect. I'm just going to delete the rest of these ones, and I come back into this. So you highlight this, and then you have, I believe you're going to press F4. Yeah, F4 value in here. So yeah, so this one with having dollar signs in before the column name, which is E, and then $ before the number itself. So this is called the absolute values. Answer is going to remain the same, but when we click, drag, and drop onto the rest of the data, you probably find very similar answers. But when you go into that one, you can see that is the same range of data has been used. So the data range is similarly being replicated for that one. So similarly in here, same data set range, and every time Z2 to Z3 and Z4, and in this case, this is Z5, been changing and all that what has happened. This is amazing. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do is now I'm just going to highlight this one again, go back into home and then highlight this one, and just to make it look good, because presentation is the key as well. And I'm going to probably give a different color. You can see that I like different kind of colors in here, right? So then easily we can see that which class, which delivery service have been used more than any other. So in this case, we are going to find out, we're going to use a formula, which is again the index formula we can use in here. So we can actually have service most used, right? Okay, so what you need to do is you need to apply a formula here, not the count F1, but here the index formula is going to be used. Look, I'm just going to apply this formula here to find the most used one, but my plan is that I am not going to let you have the right answer from here. So you need to dissect by yourself, which I want to leave it for you guys to think about it, and then probably you can refer back to your notes as well, but I'm just going to do that anyway for you guys. Okay, so the first one is the index, right? In this index, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight all this. This is my delivery services being used, right? And then you have this, and then you can talk about the match, right? So you're going to match it, and then you're going to have a max. What you're going to find in this one here now is you're going to have this data set, which is the maximum in here. And then you have to have bracket close. Then you have comma. And then you have the similar data set you wanted to have in there, comma. And then you have to have 0, which is for the exact matching. Guys, do not worry about this. This is one of the simplest formulas, but I am not going to explain you in here because three things are happening at the same time. The only thing which is different is this match and max. I have made it slightly not explain that to you guys just because I wanted you to be thinking about it, how this match and max is going to work. And then I'm confident that you all remember when we have 1, 0 or -1, because 0 is the exact match. So we are looking for the exact matches in here and the bracket close and then press enter. So you can see that I have used this for you guys, which is the standard class. So standard class has been used as the most in this particular instance, but your answer probably going to be different one to mine one. Okay, so remember this formula and that is going to help you, but I have left a catch in here which you need to figure out by yourself. Now, once we have figured out that, for instance, we got an answer as services most used is the standard class, right? So I highlight that one now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight this, and then I'm going to have insert. Then you get back into this donut chart, and we can have this one. You can see on my screen that we can have different, so you can see that the standard class have been used more than anything else. So you can actually create a little graph which we have created, and I'm sure that you can actually your computer might have, your Excel might have different colors in there, so you can actually double click onto that one. You want to change the color, you want to change x-axis, y-axis, you want to change the title, etc., and etc., which I leave it with you guys to think about it and then do accordingly. So guys, I think I have tried to explain the question 4, which the steps you are required to take. Remember a few things which we have done earlier. This is just a wrapping up now. So for instance, do the practice on kind of creating a data by yourself. Let's just create in a separate sheet. And then you need to apply count, which is the count ifs. And then you create a small table, which is name, age, gender. These things have got nothing to do with your assignment. But yes, the formulas, before you actually jump into the formulas to solve your question 4 or 5, you need to be aware that this is something which you can actually play before you do that one. And then similarly, index, I have explained you about the index. Index is this index 2. 2 represents the second row, and the row starts from not from the metadata, which is in this case is name and age and gender. So Asim is number 1 row, and then Ali is on number 2. So remember that. Don't forget that when you do your questions. Similarly, when you have two locations to intersect, so what you need to do is you need to have the obviously the range of the data, and then number 2 is the row, and number 3 is the column. So it is the dissectional point of two elements of the table, which is one is the row and the second one is the column, and this is the center point. So I hope that this knowledge is going to help you in creating your completing your question 4. So similarly, you have to get back into your table, delivery service, copy and paste into here, which is in this case, and then you have to use the delete the replications. And once you get to that stage, then you use the count if formula. Remember, when you use the count if formula, you are going to use the dollar signs like F4. But remember which dollar sign you're going to use, because there are 3 to 4 different types of absolute values. So this is what we are going to use. So the value remains the same. And then obviously the first one is Z2, then Z3, and then obviously keep going and keep going. So once you have all that, this is the climax of all this, which is if you rightly use the formula, which is for the matching, and you click onto that one, you see that this is the long formula, which I leave with you guys to actually think about it, how you're going to do it. And then you highlight the whole table, which is from delivery service to this point, and then you create a graph. Okay, so I hope that you have liked this video, and this is really going to help you to complete your question 4. I wish you all the very, very best in completing this question 4. And but again, if you have any questions, please feel free to bring those to me during the seminars. Thank you very much, and have a lovely day ahead. Take care.